Hey, Bobby. Happy Tuesday, man. Hack the planet. Hope you're doing well, man. Trying to find out is my preferred way. Every time. 60% of the time, it works every time. Sometimes, always, maybe. Right. One sec, getting something set up here real fast. Right, let's get started. Let's do this. There you go. What's up, everyone? Happy Tuesday. A little bit of a madhouse around here because I've got my niece staying, and she's actually, it's really fun. She acts like a buffer between my two absolutely crazy boys. At the same time, she also has her own little brand of chaos she's injecting. So, busy day today. My wife is finally enjoying the silence. So, other than that, man, it was a pretty chill day. Working on, I got a new pen test coming up. got fun stuff happening where I'm going to be helping teach a course in a couple months and just getting prepped, working on stuff. Oh, actually, I wanted to start off with this one. So it looks like I wanted to show this real quick. It looks like they had an update to NetExec. They added some RDP functionality where if you've got command execution, or if you have administrator privileges, or maybe this is actually just RDP privs, I'm not sure. But they added similar to like the SMB command. They added TACX. So now you can actually execute commands. So like here's who am I executing IP config. And then here is even looking at, hey, what are the outputs of XC host? Boom. Right there. So that was pretty cool. I did not know about this, so I had it bookmarked to share with everybody. What is this guy showing? Let me see what he's got. Apparently you can even do that with NetExec SSH. That's pretty cool. I love that feature when it's getting added. But yeah, that was a fun one. Yeah, I'm glad to see NetExec taking off because I was really sad about the time that what was it? CrackMap exec really just went off the rails, and I was even one of the paid premium supporters for CrackMap. I used it pretty regularly. It was a cool tool, and so then to just see it going off the rails like that, I was like, ah, it sucked. Piece of that little heart there. So very excited to see that. All right, let's hop into a little bit of news real quick. So this one's a little bit old story, but I wanted to revisit it because we hadn't covered it. McDonald's AI hiring bot with a password of 123456 leaks millions of job seekers' data. That's just bad. So a severe security vulnerability in the McDonald's AI-powered hiring system has exposed the personal information of potentially 64 million job applicants to unauthorized access. Let's take a look at the key takeaways. McDonald's AI hiring bot exposed 64 million applicants' personal data passwords through a security using a weak password of 123456. Researchers accessed the entire system in 30 minutes using simple password guessing and database manipulation. The names, emails, phone numbers, and chat logs were accessible, enabling potential phishing and fraud schemes. That's so bad. Hang on one sec, guys. Guys, whatever I did to deserve sock, it wasn't enough. One sec. All right, I'm back. So, fun story. The sock actually brews her own kombucha. And by the way, Creeper, thank you for coming online. Oh, she brews her own kombucha, and she brews it with the force of 1,000 suns. It is intense, and she knew I was having heartburn from dinner, and so she brought me some. I didn't think we had any. I thought we drank it all, and now I'm like, oh, I feel it. The kombucha's working. Oh, good times. All right, back to how McDonald's completely flubbed their AI system. So they released a whole bunch of personal information, probably going to be used for phishing and fraud schemes. Let's see. Companies acknowledged the breaks, fixed it the same day, and Paradox AI launched a bug bounty program. So I'm guessing this was probably who was running it. All right. So security researcher Ian Carroll and Sam Curry discovered that the McHire platform, what a atrocious name, built by artificial intelligence software firm Paradox AI, suffered from an elementary security flaw that enabled attackers to access applicants' databases using the credentials as simple as the username and a password 123456. It'd be really bad if the username was admin. Breach highlights critical cybersecurity failures in AI-driven recruitment systems and raised serious concerns about data protection in automated hiring systems. Okay, now, unless they got the password from it, it looks like the AI part is probably actually just buzz on this. Let's read a little bit further, but I'm not seeing where the AI actually gave away the information here. If this had been any other thing where people could go submit an application, would this have turned out any different? Let's see. So McDonald's McHire, I hate that name. McHire platform relies on an AI chatbot named Olivia to streamline the recruitment process for franchise locations. This automated system conducts initial applicant screenings, collects contact information and resumes, and directs candidates through personality assessments. The chatbot utilizes natural language processing algorithms to interact with job seekers, though many applicants have reported frustrating experiences with the AI's inability to understand basic queries correctly. Yeah, that's understandable. Hey, Hats, what's up, man? Used to brew kombucha in the 90s. Coscus tea mushroom. Yeah. Yeah, instead it's the McThreat vector, right? She's been brewing kombucha for, I don't know, probably about 7-ish years now. Maybe 8-ish years. And she makes good stuff. She usually will either make it with ginger or elderberry. And she knows me so well because she knows, like, if I've got heartburn or, like, if something's jacked up my stomach, the ginger kombucha really helps out. So she had some on standby. Caucasus. Did I say that right, Hats? Caucasus tea mushroom? I thought you just noted it as kombucha. But it makes sense because, like, I remember the song from System of a Down. The kombucha mushroom people. That's the only thing I remember about that. Oh, up in the mountainous regions of the USSR? Gotcha. Dude, it's really neat. I find it fascinating. She enjoys it. I enjoy the products of it. Let's see. Let's take a look at this. So the platform represents a significant shift towards AI-driven human resource management, where machine learning algorithms replace traditional human recruiters by the initial stage. So actually, there was a story floating around where a hiring manager was testing their automated recruitment system. It submitted his own resume. He just changed his name, and it rejected him, and he was like the director of HR. So that was when he ripped the entire system out, made him go back to scratch. Haven't drank it since you were there. So unfortunately, a lot of the kombucha that you get in the United States now is really neutered. It's really weak sauce. Thank you, Lindsay Lohan. But you can still find people like on Facebook, Craigslist, other like peer-to-peer selling pages, and usually they'll sometimes just give you the starter, the SCOBY starter, to get started to make your own. So for anybody who doesn't know about this, kombucha is really cool. What you do is you brew tea, typically with like some sugar. It's got a little, I don't know how to, it's like a cellulose disc that the bacteria and the yeast form. That's what SCOBY stands for. It's a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. And what they do is they start fermenting the tea and making it like a fermented drink. So yeah, there's a little bit of alcohol in there. You're not getting drunk off it. You'd have to drink like 10 gallons of the stuff, something ridiculous. But there was a lawsuit back in the day where Lindsay Lohan blamed her day drinking on kombucha, and subsequently all the kombucha manufacturers changed how they were doing things in the United States. So you get the really weak stuff now, unless you brew it yourself. Let's see. So the system's backend infrastructure developed by Paradox AI stored comprehensive chat logs and personal information from millions of interactions between job seekers and the AI chatbot. Let's see. The security researchers identified multiple critical vulnerabilities through systematic penetration testing of the McHire platform. Now, what's interesting is, I find this interesting. So they say penetration testing here. Penetration testing typically implies you were hired to do it. It sounds like these guys were just doing it for fun. But we're splitting hairs at that point. So their investigation began with attempts to find prompt injection vulnerabilities, a technique where attackers manipulate large language models by setting specific commands to bypass safeguards. Yep. So when these attacks proved unsuccessful, they pivoted to examining the platform's authentication mechanisms. Breakthrough came when Carol discovered a Paradox AI staff login link on McHire.com, tipped to common credential combinations. So using the basic dictionary attack, they successfully gained administrator access and with a laughably weak password of 123456. That is really bad. Come on, guys. So the compromised account lacked MFA, fundamental security control. Once inside the system, the researchers identified an IDOR vulnerability in the applicant database. Dang. So by manipulating the applicant numbers starting from values above 64 million, they could enumerate through records and access the other applicants' information. Rip-a-roni. He has a natural body alcohol higher than the kombucha. People have been messing with McDonald's forever. 4chan hijacks every single online thing they put out. Oh, dude. They do it. It's not just to McDonald's. Also, they did it to Mountain Dew. I don't remember what the flavor was. Hold on. 4chan Mountain Dew name. What was the name they did? Yeah, look at name number 1 here. I'm not gonna say it because it's gonna put me on all the more watch lists that I'm already on. But yeah. Look, all these names are funny, but look what number 1 was. 4chan, no chill. Yeah, it's definitely of the Adolf variety there, Hats. You called it. I was pretty sure that's what it was, but I couldn't remember. This was a while ago. This was... Oh, God. This was in 2012. This was 13 years ago. 2012 was not that long ago. Hold on, what was the 5th one? I didn't see that. Diabetes. Yeah, like that one. Like the Walter Brimley. Diabetes. Oh, that's funny. Let's see. All right, so back over to McDonald's. So this vulnerability allowed a complete database traversal, exposing names and all sorts of other information spanning multiple years. Let's see. McDonald's and Paradox AI responded that the exposed data set potentially contained personal information about 64 million applicants. Though Paradox AI claims only a fraction included sensitive data, researchers accessed 7 records during their investigation, with 5 containing personally identifiable information. The data exposure created significant risks in affected individuals, particularly regarding targeted phishing attacks. Recruiter and also could impersonate McDonald's recruiters to harvest financial information for payroll scams. Oh, that's funny. So they acknowledged the security breach. Let's see. Paradox AI's chief legal officer, Stephanie King, confirmed the finding and announced the implementation of a bug bounty program. And see, this is actually... The one thing to really notice about this is that security budget tends to falter until there's an incident. And then it just, boop, it goes up. I live for the beatus. It runs really strongly in my family, which is why I try to usually keep my, I usually try to keep that under control. All right, so this was a different article here. This was one that, oh, who was it that sent it last night? One of the guys on Sunday Night Stream sent this one in. And this is a tool called Cluely, which is some AI-driven tool. I don't even know what it does. All I know is their response to it was positively spastic, and then they finally corrected course and cleared it up. But let's take a look at this real quick. So in the vast, intricate landscape of digital innovations where trust and security are paramount, emerges a tale of deception and negligence. Ooh, we're starting off strong. So while we admire young innovators who challenge broken systems and established rules, and there are many worthwhile examples throughout tech history, the case study of Cluely represents something darker. Their youth and ambition could have been channeled toward genuine disruption. Instead, while Cluely captivates its audience with extravagant parties, dazzling TikTok spectacles, and influencer endorsements, burning money as if the dawn of reckoning will never arrive, they silently put at risk the careers of the very engineers they claim to help. Millions are poured into glitzy marketing campaigns and polished facades, yet the walls of this digital citadel remain cracked, vulnerable to the shadows. Dude, they're pretty whimsical with this description here. The Cluely software does not function as promised. It is entirely detectable in any interview, and its creators turn a blind eye to security flaws, pretending they don't exist, leaving user data exposed and unprotected. So what begins as breaking system rules ends as a dangerous scam that silently terminates careers. All right, I thought I knew what Cluely kind of was, let's go check it out real quick. Cluely for... What's funny is this suggestion is actually misspelled, which if you're using Cluely for an interview, that makes it actually really funny. Because if you can't even spell the tool you're trying to cheat with right, how are you supposed to make it through the interview? Anyway, I think that was a lot of the story behind this, is that people were using Cluely to try and like cheat on interviews. But anyway, the information behind it though is actually really interesting. All right, so Ivy lead Ivy, lead the ethical hacking division of Dark Tangent, not to destroy, but to protect those who blindly trust Cluely's promises. So as a senior software engineer and creator of one of the most powerful Valorant cheats in the world, I mean, that's cool technologically, but does anybody really care about Valorant? I don't know. A tool once wielded by champion streamers, I understand the intricacies of cheat development. Hold on, let's just skip over some of this a little bit. Let's see. Roy, the face of Cluely, deceives users by marketing this web application as a cheat, preying on their trust and exploiting their desire for an edge. He sells a lie, encouraging you to compromise your career for a product that offers no real protection. While he profits from this charade, he fails to deliver any genuine value. Worse still, he perpetuates a system of inhumane interviews, leaving users vulnerable and exploited. We've sent multiple emails trying to contact them, but received no replies, just silence. On X.com, Roy saw our post and merely laughed it off, publicly lying, stating, "We don't use Supabase." In this report, we provide irrefutable evidence that Roy deliberately misled the public with comprehensive proof of deception. So we got an email here that says, "Dear Cluely, hope this email finds you well. I'm writing to bring your attention to a critical security matter that requires immediate attention. So during a recent security audit, I identified several vulnerabilities in your system that could potentially expose sensitive data. Upon further investigation, I was able to exploit these vulnerabilities, which unfortunately allowed me to access and download a significant amount of user data." RIP. So I want to emphasize that my intention was to assist in improving security posture and not cause harm. However, I feel it's crucial to inform you of the serious nature. And so this was sent... I don't know when this was actually sent, because the date's not in English here. But looks like they tried to contact them for over 2 weeks. Sent it 4 times with no response. It's a full desktop computer use overlay that sees everything you're doing at a time. Really? People want to go install that, and they were throwing a fit about Microsoft Recall? And yet they're just going to throw this one in there? Come on. Let's see. So ethical boundaries and responsibilities. We believe that Cluely crosses into a serious territory of AI ethics, but approaches the subject in an immature and irresponsible manner. They show complete disregard for the career of others by selling software that is entirely detectable. Moreover, they fail to provide even basic security measures, as demonstrated by how easily a hacker can access all their database and extract sensitive information, like interview transcripts, which could be publicly leaked online. Yeah, pretty much. Cluely recently unveiled an update with the slogan, "The End of Human Thought." Nah. You're talking to a guy who's working on trying to automate the entire attack lifecycle, something I do all the time and have done probably over 200 times, if I think about it. Easily, I can count that. Yeah. We're nowhere near to replacing human thought. Augmenting it, yes. Being able to do some tasks faster, yes. Replacing it, yeah. Nah. To be fair, I'd likely ignore that kind of email too. It doesn't start with the point. I'm 99% deleting it. True. I mean, that's also why you bring up a good point, though, Hats. This is why it's good to have something like a security disclosure or some means for reaching out to it. That's what securities.txt was supposed to be, like robots.txt, where you have a point of contact that's like, hey, I have a security issue. I need to disclose it to you. Backed by A16Z. I don't know. What is that, Bobby? I don't even know what that is. Clearly makes it easier to cheat on everything. I can hear Honey Badger out there. and Sock is probably at her wit's end. So hang on one sec, guys. I'll be right back. Oh, it's that venture cap firm. Gotcha. Hang on, guys. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Kids are nothing but little chaos generators. What they are. Wasn't just Honey Badger. My niece was up too. Let's see. I was once fired as an independent contractor for a venture capital company for being too pessimistic. I told them I told them that Perpetuum Mobile project they want to invest in would never work, and I don't need an in-depth study to know that it's not possible. Yeah. Since then, I do deep analysis on every BS thrown at me and ask for full pay. True. Always ask for full pay. All right. Back to it. Let's see here. So, Cluely is spouting like... What's the little slogan here? Right there. Cheat on everything. Dude, when you're doing that, though, you're really just cheating yourself. Oh, okay. Over Unity. Oh, okay. Gotcha, bro. All right, let's see what they found for Cluely. So we discovered Cluely's original website at cluelyai.org. The first iteration of their online presence reveals something shocking. Cluely has been fully aware of the beginning how dangerous their software is for their users' careers. So despite this knowledge, they deliberately marketed their product as functional and undetectable. Good luck with that. Their website's content clearly shows they understood the risk, but chose to obscure them in favor of profit. The archived website demonstrates that Cluely's current issues aren't oversights or growing pains, but rather a continuation of a business model built on misleading users and disregarding professional safety. Let's see. Let's hop down to the report. I'm tired of reading all this. There we go. Let's see. So to conduct our comprehensive penetration test, we deployed specialized instruments. So what do they use? Kali, Python, Zap, Burp, Nuclei, Kite Runner, Acto. Actually, I'm not familiar with Acto. API security testing instrument illustrates illuminated authorization flaws and authentication weaknesses across Cluely's infrastructure. Nice. Metasploit, always elite. I'm not crapping on them. I find it funny that they've mentioned Metasploit in here. Unless they really find something bad. Hold on. Let's see. Allowed us to chain vulnerabilities together, demonstrating how trivial it would be for a malicious attacker to completely compromise Cluely systems. All right, if you're getting popped by Metasploit using trivial exploits, that's really bad. And let's see. They also use Fiddler and Hydra. It's kind of weird they call this the ritual, but anyway. Let's see. Employed Hydra to demonstrate the fragility of authentication mechanisms, revealing how brute force methods could pierce Cluely's defenses with minimal resistance. So they didn't have any brute force protection. Got it. Let's look at the vulnerabilities here. Critical API authentication bypass. Cluely's backend API endpoints lacked proper authentication mechanisms, allowing unauthorized access to the entire user database. RIP. The vulnerability alone rates as critical according to CVSS. It exposed database credentials. I think we're going to start seeing this kind of stuff a lot more. And the reason I say that is because as I'm doing some very simple Google dorking, I'm finding a ton of language model API keys up on GitHub. People that have committed their API keys for various language models up on GitHub. I was like, bro, you're vibing too hard. Cut back on the vibe code. Maybe think about exactly what you're doing. Comrade Soul. Good evening. Welcome in. I don't know why I have all of a sudden changed to a different accent, but here we are. They wanted to invest in one of those get more hydrogen by burning hydrogen projects. Dude, that's what I think. Actually, so speaking of hydrogen projects, one of the things I think a lot of people don't realize about those is the source of the hydrogen a lot of times is hydrocarbons, which is oil. So you're exchanging a very dense chemical potential of energy for a less dense potential chemical of energy. It's not like they're cracking water and making hydrogen and oxygen out of it. No, they're literally just stripping the hydrogen off of the hydrocarbons. Let's see. But yeah, this is something I think we're going to start seeing we're surprised that there wasn't already a big surge in it. But exposed credentials, exposed API keys. I know it's always been a problem on GitHub, I would be willing to bet that there's been a surge. I just haven't been aware of it recently, just because of what I saw this week so far, and we're only on Tuesday. Let's see. Configuration file exposures. We retrieved unencrypted database credentials. They granted direct access to their database infrastructure. RIP. Let's see. Unrestricted data access. Once inside, we discovered Cluely failed to implement proper access controls, allowing extraction of personal information, password hashes, subscriptions, organization affiliations, and team data, complete transcripts between Deepgram and Cluely, all user screenshots stored unencrypted base64 encoded images, all user profile pictures, URLs stored in WorkOS. This one I'm not, so concerned about, but all these screenshots, you better at least have a static key encrypting those somewhere. Yeah, Hats, if you've got someplace where you could actually get easy energy, like maybe if you had something that was thermoelectric, but a lot of times we have better ways to go just utilize that energy. It'd have to be a place where it can make a bunch of energy and that particular locale isn't consuming that energy, right? Then yeah, you could in theory basically bottle it by generating hydrogen. You could do it that way. It's just that's not usually how it works in a lot of places. Typically, they're only producing the capacity of electricity that's needed at time, right? A lot of the work that goes into power plant management is just knowing what needs to be online, when, and where. That was what caused, believe it or not, that was what caused part of the Chernobyl incident. One of the first dominoes that fell in that piece was they wanted to take the reactor out of commission for them to do the test that ultimately led to the explosion at Chernobyl, but they were forced to keep it online in a low power state. That's what caused the xenon poisoning, ultimately causing them to try and jumpstart it and then basically setting off a nuclear bomb, right? They didn't think that was possible, but they had that was the first domino in the chain. Was they said, hey, we think we're going to need the extra power, so they had planned accordingly for it. This was one of those engine add-ons that would generate more energy than input for the M fuels combined. Oh, okay. In cogeneration, it's a cold winter only when actually heating from the plant, and it is more in demand than the electricity it makes. Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Cogeneration is not something I'm familiar with. I'll have to go look into that, because I do find civil infrastructure really fascinating. Let's see. What else do we have here? Improper coolers configuration. No monitoring system. So our extensive data extraction operation went completely undetected due to the absence of basic threat monitoring tools. Let's see. And see, that's a weird. So cogeneration is when the power plant coolant heats the city, and I think about that, but I don't think about it on a surface level because here in Texas, that's completely not a thing. No, we either transmit natural gas or we transmit electricity. So it's not something I think about where you're actually cycling like the coolant from the power plants through the city. A lot more popular in the EU, yeah. I think they may do that in places like perhaps New York, possibly Chicago. I'm not sure about that. I do know they have a lot of heat transfer infrastructure in New York. I'm not sure about Chicago though. Let's see. Anything else interesting right here? I don't want to go read in depth about this, because it's already looking really bad. I was curious to see what they found. Now, one other thing that's bad also, I don't know if it's mentioned in here because I didn't see them listed in the vulnerabilities, but Cluely system prompt. Yeah, so Cluely actually in their desktop client embedded the entire system prompt. Yeah, here we are. So this is one from the 11th. Where was the other one? Slightly more updated version. So basically, they made an Electron app, and they embedded the entire system prompt in it, and then they were shocked when people reverse engineered the Electron app and pulled this giant chunk of text out of there. And then they tried to sue the guy who released it. And then they realized that basically that's not a good look for you. So they've been taking L's on a lot of fronts here. So, yeah, good job, guys. So rather than having this stuff stored locally, they were shipping it in the client. This whole thing is just, it's a hot mess. All right. Hold on. Actually, I do want to go find one thing. I want to figure out what they were doing with Metasploit in all of this. All right, so it's not mentioned on this page. Not mentioned on this page. This web design is actually kind of infuriating. Not mentioned here. I'm just really curious to know what they were chaining together in Metasploit. Nope, nothing. And the fact I have to scroll all the way to the bottom to get to the next page is really annoying. Nothing there. Come on, you mentioned Metasploit in here. If you don't actually use it, I'm going to be sorely disappointed. Hold on, do a sanity check. Yeah, it's text match is working. I mean, come on, this is all really cool, but I want to. Okay, so unless I completely missed it. So why did they even have Metasploit listed if they're actually not going to make use of it? There's Metasploit. It's listed on page 1. Oh, correction, page 2. We've gone through every other page in here. This is so annoying, this website. So they mentioned that they changed stuff together with Metasploit, but didn't actually post it on here. I'm not claiming the veracity of their findings. I just find that really odd. That's a weird thing to do. All right, I'm kind of done with these. Because they literally put it on page 2. This whole thing reads as a Sunday journal of a teenager. Reading this format makes me appreciate academic writing more. It does me too. I'm not digging the style, and this is the first time I've read something from Dark Tangent. And I'm not saying that these people don't know what they're doing, but delivery of information, yeah. The only place it's mentioned is here. Allowed us to chain vulnerabilities together, demonstrating how trivial it would be for malicious actors to completely compromise Cluely systems. How? You mentioned it literally in one spot. I went through every page of the document here. All right, I'm done with this. That was underwhelming. I saved that one because it looked like it was going to be really cool. Maybe it's in the email to the devs, right? Okay, let's go to the news blog now. No, actually, this was one I wanted to check out here. About the hype around Expo. So Expo is an AI that's #1 on HackerOne. It has a lot of caveats to it, though. And I'm curious to know about this because essentially, if you think about it, what we're doing with Hackbot is not too dissimilar from what they've done with Expo. The way they had it worded, Hats, though, on here. This legendary framework allowed us to chain vulnerabilities together. If I'm reading that and I see this listed here, I expect to see an explanation of Metasploit module was used to do X. But this is the only mention of Metasploit in the entire document. However weirdly paged this thing is. Anyway, so yeah, if I see this and like if this was just like a list of the tools that they use and a description of it, yeah, I'd be fine with that. Maybe they just didn't use Metasploit on this one, and they've written this kind of like a penetration testing report. But they didn't. They said literally, this legendary framework allowed us to chain vulnerabilities together actively. They did do it. Maybe it was written by AI. That would be an ultimate funny. if it was. All right, let's check this one out. Who's this from? Raw.pm. Let's see. So you may have seen all the hype around Expo, the AI that climbed to #1 on HackerOne's leaderboard. Can I zoom in? Ah, good. I can zoom in far enough to get that to collapse. So it's often when something new appears or a new critical vulnerability is discovered, everyone's excited, and specialized journalists or influencers over-exaggerate to create buzz. So in order to clarify matters, Expo is the AI that became the first on HackerOne's USA leaderboard based on reputation gain, but only when you consider the April to June 2025 date range. Yeah, I mean, that is a caveat, but it's still interesting that it got to that point. Expo achievements are impressive, but not as much as social media networks would let you believe. Let's see. Expo is not first on highest reputation leaderboard. Neither of the last 3 months, 90 days, nor all time. Ranking is calculated based on reputation earned. It's not first on highest critical reputation leaderboard, based on repetition gain for high and critical submissions that are triaged or resolved. It's not first based on signal or impact. It's not first on most upvoted leaderboard. It's also not first on the USA leaderboard of all time based on reputation gain. So it's a lot of areas where it hasn't reached that level of notoriety yet. Generic text and unneeded edgy words like legendary. I think this might be an AI. I didn't check to see, but I should have checked to see if there were any M dashes in there. Because apparently AI loves M dashes. And I hate them. I was trying to convince our technical writers at work. I was like, hey, we should probably get rid of the M dash. Because apparently that's one of the big telltales that your stuff has been AI written, is if you use the M dash. Because for some reason AI loves it. So if you're not familiar, an M dash looks like this. You don't know what I'm talking about. So let's say like you're writing the word what's a hyphenated word? I'm just gonna make one up. We'll say, hey Ford, what's up, man? The double N dash, right? So let's say a normal dash is like this, right? And let's say you're writing a word like I don't know, meat. An M dash should be the length of an M. That's why it's called the M dash. So typically, you compare these two. Regular dash is about like here. M dash is like that. And you can do them in Microsoft Word real easily. They're easy to do in all other languages. But that's the M dash. And for some reason, apparently, AI just loves that. It loves doing the M dash rather than just a normal hack. So I'm trying to convince our technical writers we should stop doing that. So let's get an explanation here. What is reputation on HackerOne? Reputation measures how likely your finding is to be immediately relevant or actionable. Okay. So in practice, to make it short, reputation is a score that is updated when your report is closed. So if your report is valid, you earn points. If your report is useless, BS, you don't follow the rules, automated spam, or cited a vulnerability because you're too new, you lose points. What it is not impressive about Expo is the reputation score. What is impressive about Expo is also the reputation score. Wait, what? So indeed, as reputation is quantitative, of course, an AI agent or automated tool working 24/7 on a data center will earn more points because it will submit more reports. Human hunters need to sleep and eat and have a life. So there's nothing amazing that an AI is beating a human from this point of view. Yeah, that's actually one of the things I was thinking about. Right, guy, what's up, man? I propose you can detect AI wrote a paper or script for videos from the periodicity of unnecessary adjectives. I believe it. Hero.dev. I have not seen that guy, but I have seen Theo talking about it. AI IDE for prototype to production. I mean, it sounds really interesting. It sounds like kind of like what they wanted Devin to do. There's so much coming out in this space. It's near impossible to keep up with, especially for me because I have a full-time job. That's pretty cool. So he dropped something in here and it looks like it noticed the update. Actually, you reminded me about something, guys. So I have a server sitting over here behind me. I'm thinking about, I'm debating on doing this because I don't know if it would be shippable and reproducible for everybody else. But I have the ability to run slightly larger language models on it because it's got 22 gigs of total VRAM in it. And so I could run a couple of the thinking models on it. And if they could run with certain, let's say, what's the word I'm looking for? If they could run with any kind of certain amount of speed, then I was considering using that in Hackbot. However, then we become beholden to a system where it's got to be running locally over here. So I'm debating on it. I'm trying to figure out how to make that work. There's other options that could come to it, but I was thinking about that today, and as I saw it doing its thinking over here, that's what reminded me. Trying it right now, and it's a really nice way to work. Cool. Yeah, like I said, the only thing I knew about it was I saw Theo talking about it, and that's it. I just saw him mention it. I didn't even know anything about it. It looks really cool. Even he was complaining it's hard to keep up with stuff. My project might bridge the gap. Yeah, possibly. That would be pretty cool. Actually, you make those two working together. All right, let's see here. So we still talk about reputation at this point. Reputation is not only quantitative, as one will lose points for not applicable spam reports. So the challenge with automated software in this case is to limit false positives so that the reputation won't decrease too much. Traditional automated software such as vulnerability scanners or DAS platforms will often have 90% of the reports either false positive or useless information. So while at the same time, they have 90% of false and negative, not finding the vulnerabilities. So what seems impressive in the first place with Expo is that a very low volume of false positive, thanks to some kind of AI training, that makes it possible for us to gain a high reputation score rapidly. Very cool. Speaking of training, right, because of this AI training, there's actually something I'm considering working on that it would make Hackbot a little bit more chunky, but if you had the ability to run a local model, there could be a way to do an enhancement to it. And I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it yet or if I'm going to do it. I'm thinking about it though, and it might be that we may be able to use some stuff on the actual AI training side. And if I get it working, I'll talk about it some more. I'm still planning that out. But that just reminded me also. I'm using Olama right now, but I'm open for LLM providers. Yeah. And see, the whole idea for Hackbot was it should have been, at least, I only wanted one AI for it to make calls out to. But once the 4 primary agents were done, once we finished post-exploitation, I was going to start adding in the functionality to have different language models come in. So we'll have Anthropic, OpenAI, Gemini, all the big players in there. And probably even OpenRouter, if I can make OpenRouter work properly. Then we could even throw that into the mix so you can go configure it. However, having somebody run a local model with some very specialized data is a different story. Let's see. Maybe that'll be an enhancement to it. I'll have to think about it. 100% automated or autonomous, so isn't it? But in their post, they quickly specify that HackerOne forbids automated reporting, so humans behind Expo are reviewing 100% of the reports. Actually, yeah, we did mention this whenever we were talking about Expo. Let's see. Our security team reviewed them pre-submission to comply with HackerOne's policy on automated tools. So there's a lot of obscurity there. Are the reports reviewed by Expo human teams? They don't say what they do with the reports. Do they modify them? Do they improve them? Do they remove false positives? Probably. I bet they remove false positive reports, so maybe in intern, the AI is spamming in the interim, AI is spamming false positives to the Expo human team to actively filter. The only number they provide about is the closed reports and not yet triage submissions. That means only the report that passed Expo's human team review are counted. What are reports that did not? What's the ratio of internal to that? Nobody knows. They also claim Expo is a fully autonomous AI-driven penetration tester. It requires no human input, operates much like a human pen tester, but can scale rapidly, completing comprehensive penetration tests in just a few hours. So to me, that sounds like marketing speech. You serve the investors to get millions of dollars, but is it fully autonomous? No. It was training during years, tweaked, refined, and is running homemade benchmarks and models consistently reinforced by all humans. So there's a team of at least 25 security engineers and AI researchers behind it. That's what I was talking about. It's like, hey, this isn't like something Tony Stark threw together in a cave with a box of scraps. I just noticed that the screen is off. I need to properly align the screen before the stream starts. I think working in parallel will not hurt, but would you like to do a plugin on the app for the Hackbot integration? What do you think? I will consider it once I get the 4 agents done. That's the MVP right there. The minimally viable product is to get those 4 agents done. Until that time, I'm not worried about like trying to do a lot of feature enhancements. The browser was even more than I wanted to do, integrating the web browser, but it looked like it was going to be necessary, so that's why I was doing it. Hey, Noiby, what's up, man? We're just doing some hacker news tonight. We're going to run through it real quick, and then we'll maybe have a little fun, after, depending on how much news there is. Right now, we're reading up on Expo, which is supposed to be an AI pen tester system, and some of the caveats that it has around it. Kids are nature's function to disseminate entropy. That's what I call them. I call them little chaos generators. Let's see. In general, I'm tired of hearing pen testers and hunters comment on Discord like this. Alice, how do you feel about people coming to the conclusion about bug hunters being replaced? Bob, it seems we're heading in that direction. AI can find bugs and even code their own exploits. So, are we all hunters being replaced by AI? The recurring fear of humans being replaced by its new machine like the Terminator or countless other movies. To take just one example, AI are trained on datasets produced by humans, so innovation and adaptation to new technologies and techniques seem limited. We still need humans doing research, publishing their discoveries publicly, data engineers making this information ingestible by computers, and AI experts training their models on it. At least until we create self-learning AI agents that do their own research. Now, what's interesting about this is we were just reading the other night that Cloudflare is planning to implement an AI scraper protection. In fact, it's already out. It's up on a lot of sites. So a lot of these AI bots that are just going and trying to slurp up more training data are getting hard blocked by it. So ironically, Cloudflare are out there kind of gatekeeping the AIs from their primary food source, which is human-generated data. I do a lot of AI stuff these days, and in fact, I'm getting ready to start and I'll probably do some more breaking on one. It's mostly because it's kind of like hacking in 1999. It's nostalgic for me in a way, because a lot of what's old is new. So around, let me put it this way, about 7 years ago, I had a buddy go into car hacking. He was getting hired by major automotive firms and to go in and do security assessments of the electronics they're putting into the cars. And that's exactly what he told me. He's like, dude, this is like hacking in the 90s again. These people have no concept of security. It's like everything that's old is gold now. Yeah, Guy, I wouldn't mind taking that, because I looked at it. I didn't go super deep into it, but that would be kind of an interesting idea, is maybe that's something we can integrate into Hackbot later on. I have to think about it, but I'm definitely not opposed to the idea. All right, moving on, let's see here. Let's see. For now, it seems that AI will still be one step behind top hunters. However, AI can process an insane amount of scope compared to humans. In fact, AI is just a better automation layer in the field of security and bug hunting. It helps reduce false positives of existing software and also automate the writing of new modules. So any traditional scanner like Nessus or Nuclei requires a human to write a new module for a new vulnerability. So with AI, you create an algorithm to watch you give random data about new vulnerabilities and whom you say, do something with that. And the algorithm do the magic of learning it automatically. Yeah. Actually, this is something that one of the other features I wanted to implement over into Hackbot was the ability to introduce new tooling to itself. I wanted to give it the ability to create its own YAML files, inject them over into robo pages, And then since it will control the RoboPages server, it can restart it and relaunch it, and then do another pull of the tools. Bam! Now it's got a whole new set of tools that it can use. So one of the specialty agents will be its own tooling generation system. Hey guys, the ads are about to run, so we'll chill on the article for just a second till those finish running. Am I doing AI phishing? Not really. Right now, typically a lot of the phishing I'm doing, Noipi, is like what's called browser in the browser. So what we're doing here is for phishing, let's say what I'll do is like up in AWS, I'll have a server up here, and this server is usually running Cuttlefish. And Cuttlefish, what it will do is it will spawn a browser. It will use Playwright, and it will use CDP, which is Chrome DevTools protocol. It will use these to control the browser up here. And then when somebody actually comes and lands on our phishing page, what the victim is seeing over here is a picture of the browser with a login page I want to spoof to them. So they're seeing a web RTC video feed of it, essentially. And then we take all the inputs, the keystrokes, the mouse clicks, and then those get transferred of WebRTC to the browser. And when that browser logs in, bam, we've keystroked all the keys they put in, and we've also captured their live session tokens. And anytime I want to, I can kick them out of the browser, and we just 304 them to the actual login site. If they were already logged in, then it looks completely transparent. It just looks like a weird misdirected click. And then now I've got an active browser with all their login tokens. So that's the way I've been doing phishing recently. Gatekeeping AI will probably shape its output, introducing biases towards the allowed training data. That's true. But also, the part of the problem is in the economy of the internet is that, unfortunately, it's become, and I'm part of the problem too, it's become mooch fest. Nobody wants to pay for anything. Advertisers have been fueling the entire thing. So if nobody's going to websites, because search engines are now giving AI overviews and snippets, and even I use those, you see me do it on the stream, because sometimes I just need a quick answer. I don't need an in-depth discussion on an intricacy of Python. I just want to know what the syntax is. Then people aren't going to sites, they're not looking at stuff. But that also expands to much deeper topics of any subject you can think about. So people aren't going to websites. So what's happening is people are generating content, it's getting scraped by AI, then they're getting an AI overview, and then nobody's eventually going to the site and they're not getting any ad revenue. So the sites are not being maintained. So it's a chicken and egg problem here. Which one's going to give up first? The site that can't make any revenue, or the ones that are gatekeeping their information from the AI? What Cloudflare is hoping to do is take the information and actually make it into like a marketplace where the content creators do get compensated by the AI companies for ingesting that data. So it'd be interesting to see if they can pull that off. Search engines even filter out third-party sites from results. Yeah. I tried to buy a globe for the kids recently. I could not find a single one globally recognized with globally recognized borders. They all had 9 dashed lines, etc. on them. I like to see a free flow of information with attribution as currency. I would too, man, except there's no good way to convert attribution into paying rent. You know, I do have my ideal world, but also I'm not an idealist. I live in reality, and I understand that, hey, people need to eat, people need to pay rent. Attribution could include advertisement pass-through. That would be kind of cool. Although how you split that up, that's a hard problem. It's like, what piece of information was that data from the language model trained on to be sourced to provide the attribution, you know? You kind of get that when you do a Google search. All right, let's see. How to parse an array in Python. I'm just going to do a random search here. Of course, you didn't give me an AI overview for that, but typically when those AI overviews come up, they'll have the links to them. And actually, I will use those. Rather than coming down to here to read what these are, that AI overview actually is very helpful in finding the links to it. It's like, oh, okay, this piece of information came from this site. That could be one way to do it. And I use those links more than I use some of these sometimes. He's joking. He doesn't have 9 dash lines. He's only got 5 hats. So he's saying his is the old model. Let's see. I think that pretty much wraps this one up. But yeah, I do think there is room for doing interesting stuff with AI, and I'm doing some of it right now. But it's not at the tipping point that everybody thinks it is. And just throwing more VC money at it isn't going to break it. Oh, so on to non-AI related news. Paul, who created Havoc, C5 Piter, he's releasing a Havoc Professional. So let's see. I want to see what he's coming up with in the professional version. Let's see. And by the way, Spider, he's a young dude. I think he's 20. He's like super young. I wish him the best of luck, but I really like Mythic. I'm going to stick with it. There's a few... Hold on, there was one interesting feature in here. Let me see if I can find it on something he was doing. So one of the big announcements is the Kane Kit, which is our primary offensive offering. It includes listener server components, advanced evasive capabilities, and additional post-exploitation tooling. Kane has been designed from scratch to address many of the long-standing issues found in existing commercial and open-source implants. Most publicly available C2 frameworks still rely on traditional reflective loading for implant deployment. While this approach is easy to develop, stable, and well understood, it introduces a recognizable pattern. Typically, the loader locates the offset for the reflective function, calls it, and the DLL then allocates new memory using virtual alloc, NT-alloc virtual memory, or other similar APIs. It then parses and maps its own PE structure into the newly allocated space. This process creates significant memory noise and behavioral artifacts even before the initial callback reaches the server. So in addition, many custom loaders developed by operators or researchers use specialized techniques to place payloads into memory. Our goal with Kane was to reduce these extra steps and lower memory footprint and in-memory indicators. To do this, Kane is built as a position-independent code, or PIC, allowing it to operate directly from memory without remapping or relocation. This reduces noise and improves stealth during early stages. Oh, sweet. Boost it. The implant is also highly extensible. All critical functionalities such as communication logic, runtime evasion, dynamic code execution, and post-exploitation features are built as modular extensions. These components are registered at payload generation time, allowing the final implant to include only what is needed for a specific engagement. This architecture lets the operators build anything from a lightweight stage 0 implant or SOC 5 proxies for pivoting to fully featured agents equipped with advanced evasion capabilities. So I thought that was pretty cool, the way he's doing that with everything being position-independent coding. That's exactly right. Society will change more with automation, and automation will be replacing jobs soon. It's inevitable. That's how it works with everything. And then there's usually new industries that come up. One I like to think about was there was a big company that was their entire business was typewriters, and they refused to adapt and change, and then they got wiped out by word processors, by computers, basically. I mean, the same thing happened to Blockbuster. For those of you who are too young, let's take a trip back down memory lane. Blockbuster was a place you could go and rent these giant black boxes, and you could watch videos on them. This was before the internet had any kind of speed where you could download video. I almost bellyached. I was downloading a 6 gig file, and it was going to take a minute. I was half a heartbeat away from bellyaching on it. Then I realized young me would have probably crapped his pants if he saw those speeds, because I used to download it 1 meg an hour. An hour. You're talking 3 to 5 hours to download a single MP3. So I almost complained about it. That's how quickly things move. Blockbuster entire thing was based on storefronts getting tapes to and from people. They had the ability to buy Netflix. They passed that up, royally screwing themselves over, and then Blockbuster went out of business. I think some similar stuff is going to happen here, but you notice there wasn't a drop in jobs. There's new industries that will pop up and will fill those. Once you have an abundance of a resource, people find ways to improve that. AI is like the new calculator. There's one Blockbuster left in Bend, Oregon, right? 56K, dude. Ford, that was the stuff back in the days. So if I ask Copilot a question, I can then ask what sources did it use to come up with the answer. There could be a universal way to siphon the ads through the same mechanism. And if you don't want ads, I could pay Copilot, and Copilot pays a fraction of those sources instead of siphoning ads. I think that would be a great idea. That sounds kind of similar to what I think Cloudflare wants to do, but more on the sourcing of the data than the distribution of the data. So you can kind of get that both ways. It's definitely going to be an interesting economics problem. Yeah. It's not currently, I don't think it's currently doable right now, but I think with some minor work, I bet they could do it. So that's a good example. I love that. I like that. Thinking outside the box. Very awesome idea. Soon the only job of humans will be goo tank inhabitants. You know, it's funny if you ever go back, I'm assuming you're referencing The Matrix. That's where I'm taking that from. If you go back and rewatch The Matrix was hell. Y'all, I know I've had this talk before. The Matrix was hell. The machines didn't need people. They were basically they were conscious. They were self-replicating. Morpheus talks about it like, hey, we're a battery for them. We generate electricity. Humans are a horrible battery. But there's one line that gets glossed over there when he's explaining to Neo what it does. When he does the holding up the Duracell battery, right? He talks about with harvesting humans and a new form of fusion. Fusion puts out just absolutely astronomical amounts of energy. They didn't need the humans. The Matrix was built as punishment to punish the humans. Maybe they were so hard-coded to preserve the humans. I don't know, man. I like to go with my headcanon is that the Matrix was there to punish the humans for trying to destroy the machines. Yeah. It's definitely an interesting thought. Anyway. Let's see. Ooh, what else did he add over to Havoc? Custom covert communication channels. Havoc Professional and CaneKit support user-defined communication channels, allowing for the development of customized extensions. These could include direct communications over like HTTPS or ICMP or peer-to-peer. Nice. I'll be interested to see where he goes with this, especially since he's such a young kid and he's crazy smart from the folks I know that know him have told me. All right, so anyways, that's about that. Let's see. UK arrested 4 in the Scattered Spire ransomware case. Swedish PM's private address was revealed by Strava data shared by bodyguards. It's always OPSEC. It is always an OPSEC failure. Oh, here's one I actually absolutely must talk about. For all my love of Ludus, this is a buddy of mine, Baviel, put this out. And in fact, what's funny is I knew he was working on this, and I saw the products of this, and actually saw the code for it. I didn't know he had released this until someone sent me this article. Until I saw it in the blog here. I was like, what? Why did you tell me you were publicly releasing it? So get this. Ludus Hound is a tool for red and blue teams that transforms Bloodhound data into a fully functional Active Directory replica environment via the Ludus framework for controlled testing. This tool can be used to replicate most AD objects and permissions, or can be used to replicate a specific attack path. All right, so the problem here, security practitioners rely heavily on lab environments to test tools, techniques, and attack paths before bringing them into a live environment. But most labs are built with generic setups, such as one domain and a couple of workstations, and rarely capture the complexity of real-world Active Directory like multiple domains, logged-in sessions, nested groups, excessive object permissions, or escalation paths. Customer's environment? My lab. So recreating these configurations manually is tedious, time-consuming, and doesn't scale. Because of this, consultants often end up testing directly in production or relying on incomplete assumptions, while defenders may be hesitant to perform testing or hardening out of concern for causing outages or disrupting critical systems. When your password spray has a syntax mistake and now no one can log in. Yeah. I've never done that, ever. No. Enter Ludus Hound. I love the icon he made for it. So Ludus Hound bridges a gap in red and blue team operations and provides the ability to recreate realistic AD environments with misconfigurations and relationships based on actual production data. So while tools exist to analyze environments like Bloodhound, to my knowledge, there's never been a simple way to take that data and automatically reconstruct a functional lab environment for testing or training. In the Animatrix, the lore was expanded to explain it, like humans destroyed weather to remove power from machines, so machines learned to use humans for power instead. Yeah, the Animatrix is actually really good. In Sweden, your address, phone number, direct family tree, and vehicle are all public data? Really? I had no idea about that. Yeah, Animatrix was really good. Actually, the one thing I think they did really good, like as a pre, Marvel Cinematic Universe, is it was really hard to kind of make some of those universes where a lot of the various components tied in. Marvel, for a long time, did do that really well. They've gotten way away from that. That's a different story. But when it came to the Matrix, they did a really good job of continuity and expanding the story amongst like the video games, the comics, like the Animatrix, the movies, the little one-off standoff things they did. They weren't like isolated. They actually did enhance the overall story universe, which I appreciate that they did that. DHL Express in the EU is crap. They allow you to use a semicolon in the password and approve it, but would not accept the character on actual login. I love that. Oh, let's see. Let's see what I do here. So, how does it work? Data ingestion. Ludus Hound connects to the Bloodhound server via its API and queries the graph database. It retrieves domain objects, including users, OUs, groups, and everything else. Go-based parser analyzes the retrieved Bloodhound data alongside user-provided input, focuses on identifying computer roles based on AD computer properties. And then finally, the generation. Let's see. The generated Ludus config file maps each machine to a set of Ansible roles. Over 32 custom Ansible roles were used to automate the creation of AD objects and relationships, including user accounts, group structures, delegation settings, GPOs, etc. Let's see. So using the Ludus framework, the generated Ansible roles are executed to deploy and configure the Active Directory lab environment. Ludus handles the provision of virtual machines and runs Ludus Hound Ansible roles for the configuration. Oh, this is a great meme. Golang, it's a rock. Golang plus Ansible. It's a little better. Golang, Ansible, and PowerShell. It's the rock. Oh, too good. I'll have to go update my Ludus server and maybe try this out, because I think this looks great. I love it. So you download it, you build the binary, you run it. Let's see. So you give it a server. So I'm guessing this is whatever your Bloodhound CE server is. Yeah, because you're using Neo4j. Give it an output, and you just look for live computers. And I don't know what this string here is. Let's see. I don't know if that's output. Oh, no, this is the list of the alive computers. Got it. So live computers that will be created to deploy as live systems. Oh, nice. I was wondering how he was going to get around that. I hadn't talked to him about the development of it. I just knew he was developing it, and I saw his updates because he would send them to me as he was like working on it. That's awesome. Oh, I gusta. Let's see. My colleague Garrett Foster had some great feedback on this tool idea. For large environments that we would take time to deploy, Ludus Hound should have a feature to only recreate a specific attack path. So Bloodhound has an option which allows you to export specific attack paths in a JSON file. This could be used with Ludus Hound to recreate only objects and edges listed in the file. Oh, sexy. Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, if you didn't know this, if you find, like let's say you develop a graph and you have an attack path as part of this graph here, you export as JSON, you can use that in here. Oh, dude, you did such a good job on this. Oh, of course I'm saying that, but now he's got caveats. Ludus Hound currently supports computers, groups, sessions, and most of the Bloodhound edges. The tool strictly focuses on 80 objects and permissions, currently does not support individual components like SCCM or ADCS. I do plan on implementing these in upcoming versions when development time allows. Let's see. Ludus occasionally encountered errors where Ludus Hound configured... The Ludus Hound configuration typically resolves with a redeployment. So while I conducted a lot of testing, Active Directory environments present countless edges, specific permission combinations, unique domain configurations, and other variables that I may not have tested. So, here, I'm going to drop this over in the chat, because I think it's awesome. If they make that a movie, The Matrix, The Renaissance, it would be legit. That'd be kind of cool. There's gruesome parts where they explore the human brain to make the machines. Yeah. Oh, I bet, man. Oh, baby. That was such a cool tool. I was glad he finally got to release it. Let me see what else we got here. Another Fortinet exploit. Awesome. Let's see. Taking them to the shitter. An analysis of vendor abuse and security research in the wild. This was, I read through this and it was interesting, but it didn't really, I didn't, in my mind, I like Raphael Munch, but this didn't provide a ton of information here. Basically, he was lambasting Elastic on how they treated the guys over at Shelter for their offensive security toolkit. I think it's interesting, but also I don't have a great love of paid offensive security toolkits. Certain ones I get, Cobalt Strike, Havoc, other ones like that. Shelter, I think they're doing interesting stuff, but also I don't know how much they're moving the security conversation forward with it. So I don't really have a great love for a lot of those. Also, some of them, the pricing is absolutely ridiculous. Oh yeah, there was a new exploit in GPUs. Rowhammer attacks on GPU memories are practical. Let's see. Another remote code execution in SailPoint. Man, where were you? What was this? 6 months ago. I could have used this. I had SailPoint on a penetration test I was doing. Let's see. What determines the IP address of a request? Microsoft thinks the header is good enough. Oh, Lord. Let's see what else we've got in here. Oh, I did want to look at this one. This is a new lateral movement as logged on user via the speech name pipe. I'm curious about this one because anytime I've got new lateral movement techniques, I really like to check them out. All right, so this proof of concept for lateral movement abuses the fact that some COM class configured as interactive user will spawn a process in the context of the currently logged on user session. So if those processes are vulnerable to COM hijacking, we can configure a COM hijack via the remote registry, drop a malicious DLL via like SMB or some other method, and load and execute the DLL via DCOM. I like that.
Incoming transmission from E_Boiler.
Order making it rain with pennies. Dude, I hope the rain is let up where you're at, dude, because it looked sick. It looked absolutely horrendous. I hope you're drying out down there. It has. Oh, thank God, because man, it was looking rough. Glad to hear you. It's looking a little brighter for you. We had some pretty wicked rain here yesterday, and then it was dry as a bone today. It was like 9,000% humidity, but it was dry. That's just Texas summer, though. Let's see. So this technique removes the need to take over the system, plus afterwards, impersonates the target user, steals the target user's credentials from LSAS or somewhere else, or uses alternative techniques to take over the account. Cool. Speaking of stealing stuff from LSAS, hopefully I've got a juicy thing that's going to be released by another buddy of mine soon that was absolutely sick and saved me on a penetration test because it was a very tough environment and we were able to use it to dump LSAS. So hopefully I'll get to talk about that soon. I know he's getting ready to release it publicly. I got to mow one of my 4 yards. Talk about a humble brag, man. Yeah, I only got to mow one of the yards. My yard is a postage stamp. Let's see. So because the code is already getting executed, the contents of the logged in user, we can do whatever we want in that context and create less indicators of compromise for alternative techniques. So in this proof of concept, this particular CLS ID, which is the speech name pipe com, is used. It will be spawned whenever an instance of the speech name pipe com class is created. Nice. Let's see. To find out which users are active on a remote client, we can use an enum tool. Very cool. Yeah, I'll drop this over in. Ouch. I screwed up. Hang on. There you go. Use the second link. The first one I had a typo. I accidentally fat fingered it. Let me star this. We'll put this under red team. Boop. By the way, guys, if you ever want to see the list here that I'm bookmarking these on, go over to the Blaise Bits profile on GitHub and then go to stars. And then here you'll see all the lists that I've created and the different, so various red team tools, AI and machine learning, Securita, everything else. So whenever I find interesting repositories, I come bookmark them in here. Hopefully trying to make it like a little bit of a community shortcut list for some interesting tools. If you're out of ideas, you need something to go look at, boom. Got a question. I know there's no such thing as a perfectly secure company, but is there an instance that you don't see any vulnerabilities during a penetration test? I always see some vulnerabilities, 100% of the time. Now, whether or not those become useful vulnerabilities, no, there's been a couple where they were severely locked down. Wait, what happened there? Go ahead. There's been a couple where they were incredibly locked down. You're more likely to see that on something like a web app than an actual like internal penetration test, just because there's so many ways to abuse Active Directory. Yeah, you're more likely to find that on something like doing a web application pen test, where there's really nothing of importance to report. So yeah, that's not. I wouldn't say it's common, but it's definitely not unheard of where you have 0 findings. I hate those reports. I've only had to write maybe a handful of them, 2 handfuls maybe, but I freaking hate them. They're the hardest reports to write. I'd rather have a report where I have a dozen high impact findings that each one takes me like 2 hours to write up because they have lots of technical details, than one where I have to go through and explain my constant failures over and over and over again to find something. So that provides me a lot of incentive to never not find anything. Yeah, air gap is best gap. Oh, what is this? Actually, hold on. Let me look at this one real quick. POC for a CVE, elevation of privilege vulnerabilities in Windows Update Service. Let's take a quick peek at this one. I'm curious about it. Vulnerability affected Windows 10 and 11 with at least 2 hard drives. So when the machines have multiple hard drives, it's possible to change locations where new content is saved using the storage sense. If location for new applications is changed to a secondary drive, during installation of a new application, the WAWAServe service will perform arbitrary folder deletion without checking for symbolic links. Oh, interesting. Check out the little video here. Let's see what he's doing. So who am I? I am Lobat. I have no privs. So we run Lobat desktop, Windows Update EOP. Hold on, we pause this. Oh, so we have to give it an example of like where we're going to put this. So put this in the D drive. Change the location where the new apps are saved. Created a symlink to config.msi. We're sleeping. Now we're waking. Come on, it's been more than 10 seconds. Wake up. Interesting. That's a fairly simple proof of concept. I mean, it's been patched by now, I'm pretty sure. But always cool. Always fun to see, especially if you come across like unpatched systems. What if instead of lamenting over your failure to find any issues, you instead offer congratulations on all the tests they passed so they feel good about themselves for not being terrible? I do that, actually. So one of the things I try to make sure of is that I don't want my interactions with my clients to be adversarial, even though they are by their very nature. I don't want them to be combative. Let me put it that way. So no, when they do something right, I definitely call that out. So like I have my clients constantly sending me telemetry on, hey, we detected you here, we blocked you here. So, and I will actually put those into the report saying, hey, by the way, we noticed that you detected us here, here, and here. This is great. By the way, you got a blind spot. We need to work on here. Oh, I finished by Jocko. Not sponsored by Jocko yet. Work, Jocko. If I have to review a PCB that's perfect, I would find some things that could be optimized or change the functionality and fabrication and not just mention that it can be optimized. Will leave no meaningful impact of resulting product. Yeah. I mean, there's sometimes I find stuff too that I think would just be nice for them to know, and I will report that. So for example, I found stuff that was not really out of scope on the last pen test I did. It was just interesting bugs, and it was revealing data that it shouldn't have. So it didn't lead us to completing the primary objective, but it was good information for them to have. Like, hey, by the way, you've got data leaking in this area. And so you might want to shore that up. And there's, by the way, we found an edge case where we could crash this service and then it becomes completely inoperable until you restart it. Normally, I don't report denial of service issues, but this was one that it could have potentially been done to the person instead of like by the person. One sec, guys. Just don't want the report to come back like, did he even look at it? I've had so many times where I've had clients email me questions. I'm like, bro, it's in the report. And it's mentioned multiple times in the report. Did you even read it? You paid me a lot of money. Please read it. A lot of times they're not doing this to have any findings. They just want a checkbox. Yeah, exactly, Ken. The ones that one of the ones I found really funny was I actually had a client that came back that told me, and I warned like newer, maybe like newer penetration testers or offensive guys about this. It is possible to pwn a client too hard. And I had a client come back and it was a very short test. And part of it was I got into their CI/CD framework and I showed that, hey, there's pieces of information I could get here with that an attacker could do this. And I extrapolated out the attack path for them. They weren't happy with that. They're like, we wanted you to go deeper. I was like, okay. Talked to my boss. I was like, hey, I'm not scheduled for anything next week. Can I go give them some free time? He said, yeah, sure. I went through and absolutely BTFO'd their CI/CD. I tore that thing apart. By the end of it, I had backdoored every single container that they had. I had complete access to their entire AWS infrastructure. It was horrendous. I never heard from those clients again. And that was pretty unheard of. We had about 80% repeat customers when I was at that firm. They would come back to us repeatedly because we did a good job. And so those guys, not even a peep. After they got the updated report with showing them how far I was able to go just from compromising their CI/CD, it was ghost town after that. They were definitely an outlier case, but it can happen. Let's see. Ooh, Sharp Silent Chrome. C# project that silently installs browser extensions on Chrome or MS Edge by updating the browser's preferences and secure preference files. Currently, it only supports Windows. There's a Ludus proof of concept. Let's see how this is working. See if I can blow this video up any. Okay? Yeah. Let's take a look at this. So he's going to do... Looks like he's got a C2 command. He's got a C2 agent running here. He's going to inline execute an assembly. Let's see. He gives a user SID profile path. And I guess then the path to the extension he wants to install in which browser. Let's see what happens here. So we have no extensions installed. We execute this. And now we have the cursed Chrome implant. Example Chrome extension with implant code. You should probably inject/disguise the implant instead of installing that extension directly. That's pretty awesome. I'm goose to that. Dude, because there's so many things you can do with having an extension versus like, just downloading stuff directly onto the system. That's cool. Let's see. I've simply so this guy said I simply ported his Python code to C# for all information regarding the research. Check out their code. Okay, but that's still pretty cool because then if you have like your own custom Chrome extension, bam, you're Gucci. Love it. This also looked interesting. Repo to hold a Waza Manager MCP server. In hardware, they're usually afraid to put 50K to test before someone else looks at the design. Yeah, no kidding. You would think, especially when it comes to hardware, right, that they would have you testing stuff like in the early, not early, but like in like the pre-production phase before they go start mass producing it and sending it to the manufacturers. I would hope so. I envy software people because hardware releases actually cost money. Yeah, no joke. Let's see. Ooh, WDS Finder. Simple tool for identifying WDS servers in Active Directory. WDS, I think, is, what is that? I forget, Windows WDS server. I forget what WDS... Yeah, Windows Deployment Service. That's it. Enables you to deploy Windows operating systems over the network. That's right. Why Rust? Yes. Spoken like a true Rustation. Compile a tool with cargo on Windows or Linux and run it. However, the SMB enumeration only works on Linux at this time because SMB client is used under the hood. RIP. Interesting though. So your WDS would be an interesting place to go find a... The reason why that might be a good target if you're not sure where to necessarily pivot into a network is because this is for deploying Windows over the network, which means it has to have like a customized Windows image with deployment configuration files. You can get in there and steal those, and then you can find all sorts of information, probably local administrator passwords. You'd hope that they were using LAPS then, because then that would overtake the default Windows admin password. Yeah, that'd be a fun one. Oh, this was actually another interesting one I saw. Nova Hypervisor. It's a defensive x64 Intel host-based hypervisor. Goal of the project is to protect against kernel-based attacks, like bring your own vulnerable driver, by safeguarding defense products like antivirus and endpoint protection and kernel memory structures and preventing unauthorized access to kernel memory. That one sounded pretty neat. Look at it real fast. Let's see, it's written in C++ and assembly and designed to be compatible with Hyper-V and run on Windows 10 or later versions. Let's see, so to use this, you'd have to create a kernel service and start it. So you create Nova Hypervisor. Which is funny because Nova means no-go in Spanish. Let's see, protect your memory addresses. Be interesting if he actually gave some interesting listing resources for it. I like the idea of it. Just be interested in like what he's actually running inside there. Interesting. I like the idea of it. I don't immediately see where you're going to apply that. Let's see. Double team. Listener that spawns a new Tmux window for each incoming reverse shell. I mean, I like the idea of that too, except what is he integrating this with? Let's see. Launches a new Tmux session for each incoming reverse shell. So I'm guessing these are just simple flying shells. I mean, maybe handy on something like a CTF. I probably would not use that in a live penetration test. But I'm never going to go crap on somebody for coming up with new and innovative ways, especially when they're using Tmux, because I do like Tmux. Oh, that's cool. I do like that. Let's see. Anything else in here? I think they were going for the Latin new. They probably were. But I like my event, the no-go hypervisor. Or the don't hypervisor. Let's see. Hey, here's one for you, Hats. Have you seen this? Picante. Tool for exploring and reversing CAN buses of vehicles based on Raspberry Pi. I like the little icon, too. If your tool doesn't have a cool icon, it's not a cool tool. Let's see. Hacking tool for accessing, exploring, and manipulating vehicle CAN bus networks built on a Raspberry Pi Pico. Designed for researchers, security professionals, and automotive enthusiasts looking to deep dive into vehicles without expensive proprietary equipment. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, because I know you're not the only one, Hats. You're just the one I remember offhand. But there's a lot of folks in here that do hardware stuff, mostly for fun. I think you're the only one I know that does it professionally. Keep it dirty. Love it. Dead simple, inexpensive, readily available, tool compatible, and your choice first. Love it. I've never heard that dirty as an acronym like that. But that sounds pretty cool. Actually, I need to send this to one of my buddies. Hang on. I'm going to go drop this in Discord fast. Because I'll drop this over in the hardware hacking section. I'm going to do because he... Actually, here we go. Perfect. I forgot we have a car hacks. Yeah, looks really cool. I've never got into CAN buses. I understand the basic idea of them, but it's pretty fun. Oh, we need to go do this real fast. So they're doing hacker-style Family Feud, but it's from a group called Only Feet. So it's called Feet Feud. This will be at DEF CON this year. Name a famous data breach. Ooh. Ooh. What do you think? What was the credit card one? Was it Experion? Hold on. Dang it. Yeah, Experion. We'll put that one there. Name an AI-based security startup. Ooh. Oh, you know what? Dreadnought. That would be a good one for that. They're doing that. Name a hacker who's been arrested. I mean, the obvious is Kevin Mitnick. Name a cybersecurity regulation. There are none. It's a FET. It's a PSYOP. Name a cybersecurity podcast. What are you doing with all these? Okay. I'll finish this up later, Tiberius. I didn't realize you're going to have 1,000 questions in here. Oh, what is this? LinkedIn Tel. LinkedIn Recon the easy way. Oh, this might be interesting because right now LinkedIn data collecting is actually a real big pain. Sits in the background while you browse LinkedIn via Burp and automatically extracts profile information from API responses. Oh, nice. Very cool. The lazy way, which is recommended, enable auto extract profiles in the settings tab, browse LinkedIn through Burp's proxy, do literally anything else while profiles get harvested, export when you're done. Nice. Oh, that's cool. Hold on, I'm gonna drop that over in the red team channel for folks because knowing who to target sometimes can be a pain. And literally a lot of times what I'll do is I will try to go find on LinkedIn who are certain roles in a company, and then I will try to translate that to their user account and then to their computer. So if I need to compromise them, I know I can go compromise their computer. On some of the IBM models, you can CAN bus direct. The CAN bus is directly accessible from outside by pulling a connector from the suspension. Oh no! There are black market hardware tools you can connect to that plug, then unlock the car, bypass, and turn the engines on for you. Oh, that's horrible. That's terrible. See, what kind of info gets extracted? Names, job titles, geographic locations, profiles, URLs for stalking, badges and verification status, profile summaries, timestamps. Awesome. Oh, that's pretty sick. I like that. I'm going to put that one into use tomorrow. All right, last one. Let's see if this one. Wait, this one. WatchWitch, interoperability, privacy, and autonomy for the Apple Watch. Researchers reverse engineering and the closed down ecosystem of the Apple Watch is an open compatibility with Android. Interesting. Not super interested in it, but I think that's kind of fun. All right, Tiberius, I'll do your Feet Feud survey in a little while. Let's see here. CAN something to be aware of. If I had one of those BMWs, I'd make a CAN doggle that would fuzz the CAN data unless it detects the right order of unlock sequences. Dude, so my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Pats, is that essentially CAN bus works as like an addressable broadcast. It works more like a hub, like you used to have. So, for example, now on switches, right? If we've got like 3 computers here, and they're talking through a switch, when you send data from this computer to this computer, it only goes there, right? Versus if you're on a hub, when a computer transmits something, a copy of it actually would go here, and a copy would go here, and it would go to anywhere else on that environment. So the CAN, this is the difference between like a hub versus like a switch. So in cars, they're using a lot of these CAN buses, and they act like hubs. Yeah, they're physically the same wires, right? So that means when you have information from like the brakes, if you're reading that information, you can read the information from like the brakes and like the accelerator at the same time. Completely disparate systems that are on that bus. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? Actually, let me look at something real quick because a buddy. Let me log in here real fast over to Hackbox because Euler sent me this earlier today. I want to go take a look at it. What's the name of this box? It's called Artificial. Let me look at that one real quick. Hackbox Labs. Oh, by the way, that reminds me. I've still got I still have premium keys for Hack the Box Labs. I got to figure out a way to give those out for everybody. Let's see. Artificial. Is this one let me see if this is a live machine or if it's retired. I believe this is a live machine. Machine info. Artificial is offline. I think this is a live machine, though. Well, look at this. Look at this absolute craziness. Hang on, let me hide the camera. There have to be like certain weird automations or 0 days these guys have just like using to just get hack the box points. First blood in 12 minutes. System ownage in 23 minutes. That's insane. That's nuts. I mean, how? How? I do this professionally. I don't get it. Nowadays, they typically have 3 isolated buses: drivetrain, convenience, and then debugging. Some systems debug is just on both buses out there. Ladder goes more towards trucks where you're allowed to officially to connect your own stuff to a can, you know, like for refrigerators. Okay. Also, if you need to like the engine RPM or status, or for fleet monitors. Passenger cars, it's usually 2 buses and an OBD connector, and both are exposed directly. Gotcha. Well, my buddy, the Phantom Pooper, that's one of his favorite things to work on, is car hacking. He actually has a really cool car for that. That's what, guys. I've got to run to the bathroom. Unfortunately, I was going to look at artificial here, but like I said, I think it's offline. Looks like it. But this one was actually really cool because it was using, it looked like, from what I can tell, you were going to use some kind of like AI or machine learning hacks to get your shell on there. So I thought that'd be kind of fun, but looks like it's down, unfortunately. So give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. I'm going to go into the bathroom. You know, Ford, you're probably right. That probably means we just haven't spawned the machine yet. I still got to make sure that it is not a live machine, though. Anyway, I'll be right back. All right, back. Guess who's back? Back again. The buses are literally hardwired through the devices, so you have one master yelling out commands. Others answer them in the right order. You can freely monitor the comms and inject data. Nothing's encrypted. Buses are split because you don't want to fight all with all the switch, lamp, and radio controllers interfering with real-time operation sensors. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Let's see. How do I check if this machine is actually live or machine info card? Let me see. Oh, this was just released. So I think this one is still live. It's not retired. Let's see. There's our retired machines. Yeah, so it's still a live machine, so we couldn't do that one on stream, unfortunately. But when it gets retired, I think I want to do that one on stream. I don't usually like doing a lot of the CTF ones, except for just whenever we're blowing off steam, have a little bit of fun. They tried to do BMW tried to do CAN over fiber, and it went bad. Oh, that's funny. Wait, so newer cars have switched to a LAN style, so it's not the same? Oh, cool. Spiked, hey man, how you been doing, man? That's interesting. I never would have guessed them to use fiber for the CAN connection. I wonder if it provides a lot of improvements. I've been doing fairly good, man. Just kind of it still feels like I'm just getting back to work, even though I realize now I've been back at work for getting on towards 2 months almost. So it still just feels like I'm still getting my feet under me, unfortunately. Oh, so it's just BMW going for the LAN style. Gotcha. Let's see. What do we have here? There we go. Yes, so it is still definitely a live box. So just for anybody who doesn't know, the ones that are live, you currently cannot do. And so once the season ends, then people can release their write-ups. So like anytime you're watching a video from IPSEC, if you ever seen him do Hack the Box, he's doing retired systems, or he's doing them like when they're live, but he doesn't release the video until after the box gets retired. And it's because only the live boxes count for points. Let's see. Let me look at something actually real quick. Don't really have time to go into a machine, but I was actually really happy with the 2 million machine that we did a couple weeks ago, because with that one, we were able to, I was able to get a better idea of some stuff that in the future we're going to have to make sure Hackbot can handle, especially when it comes to local privilege escalation. Which we're going to kind of cover that in the post-exploitation section. Post-exploitation... Let me think about this, actually. It would be covered in post-exploitation, but I think that will probably be one of the specialty agents we add in. Yeah. Let's think about this for a second. Let me clear this out. So, the general architecture is we have Stinger up here. Stinger is basically our orchestrator. And then we've got, we have Recon. And then we have another agent that's enumeration. And then we're going to have the exploitation agent, and then we're going to have the post-exploitation agent. So probably what will happen is there's going to, when we get to the idea where we're going to do privilege escalation, there's probably going to have to be some kind of interlink between exploitation and post-ex. And Postex will probably have his own specialty agent down here for Privesk. So one that is specifically for like maybe Linux or Windows privilege escalation. I think that would be a good idea for it. I haven't actually really thought about. I had thought about the privilege escalation, but Postex exploitation's idea here was just to return an initial access payload, and then hand that off to Postex. Postex would then get a C2 connection over onto the target system, and then post exploitation, like privilege escalation of vulnerabilities, would be done over Postex. So it may make more sense to potentially have both of them communicate with Privesk here. But we still got to work on how we're going to get the specialty agents in there and how we're actually going to allow them to work. Hey, Vandal, what's up, man? Dog is a good machine. Is this one retired? Oh, yeah, it is. Let's take a look at it real quick. Machine info. Easy-rated Linux machine that involves reading sensitive information through exposed Git repository and exposing credentials to the Git to get administrator access to the backdrop CMS. Admin privileges allow the attacker to exploit remote code execution by uploading a malicious archive containing a PHP backdoor. The John Cusack user account also reuses that password. After compromising the John Cusack account, the attacker finds the user that can run the B executable pseudo privileges. I got it. It looks pretty fun. I had an idea a while ago of looking at the walkthroughs and actually taking them and trying to parse them and develop maybe an attack path system for Hackbot to use. If we had more time for tonight, just for an hour left, I actually would go hop onto Dog. But in the time it'll take to boot up the lab and get it going, we'd probably have only about 30 minutes to work on it. I think it'd be interesting for it, though. And to it, one thing I might just go ahead and do, hang on, let me drop into OPSEC mode real fast. Let's go tinker around with the web browser or Hackbot real fast, because we almost had that functional. We were just about there Sunday night. Maybe we can get that over the finish line in the last few minutes. Yeah, this is OPSEC mode. And it didn't call it out during the stream, but if y'all were paying close attention, Sunday night, because of a quirk of PyCharm, I had accidentally exposed my my Anthropic API key. So good luck using it. As soon as the stream was over, I decommissioned that key and reissued a new one. Hack with K, thank you for coming online. Welcome in. By the way, y'all, I just noticed we're now 25 followers away from the Leech stream. There's current follower count is 1,312. I said when we got to 1,337 followers on the stream, we'd do something fun, some kind of fun challenge. And I don't know what it is, but we'll do something that will definitely make me feel the pain. We'll have a good time with it. We're almost there. We're only about 25 people away now. Well, we are exactly 25 people away. Okay, I'm doing pretty good. Had a busy day fighting my tech. It always seems like whenever you, because I just started a new penetration test this week, and it always seems like whenever you first spin those up, is when things start sucking. Gee, thank you for going online. I should play for Honored. Oh, dude, I bet I'd probably get just absolutely noobified, crushed. Hey, I don't think I've seen you on... are you on InfoSec streams? Have you submitted your stuff for that? You're not on here. Okay, I'm gonna drop a link for this. Uh, okay, the cyber guy was on here. Okay, cool. Well, make sure you get your new account on here. I'm trying to get this. Usually, what makes me sad is like this stream is usually the only one that's on this late at night. We're the night owls, at least for US nighttime, right? I'm trying to get more folks from like Europe and Australia. There was one guy over in Shanghai. I'm trying to get this where we've got 24-hour coverage on here. Maybe not 24/7. I understand people want to have, fun time and good lives. I get that completely. But eventually, I'd like it to be that there is always somebody up on InfoSec streams. So I'm actively recruiting folks, trying to get them on here. AI agents are good only in user space when it interacts with the kernel operations. I'm thinking of start streaming overnight. Dude, do it. I get a lot of folks coming in from like the European area over there across the Atlantic, and I love it. I'm glad whenever they get to come in and I get to chat with them. Isn't this fun times? What's fun times? I'm confused. I'm still in OPSEC mode. I didn't bring it back up. I was showing off InfoSec streams here. By the way, so for everybody who doesn't know this site, it's a great place, especially during the daytime, to go find streamers that are doing all sorts of interesting hacker stuff. Occasionally they're playing video games, but for the most part, they're up here doing all sorts of fun hacker shenanigans. This is kind of fun times, but actually getting this browser to work, I am so excited about this. It is almost there. We fixed an issue. We're getting close. Let me try this real quick. Unable to find image browser use latest locally. Did I delete the browser image? Oh, wait. Maybe I did. Let me delete these two images out of here because they're not tagged, which means I'm not using them. Docker image rm. Let me get rid of these two real fast. Image is being used by a stopped container. Wait, is it really? Which container is using it? It's got to be this one. Did I miss something up here? Hang on, let me clean up Docker real quick. Get rid of that one. And this one. Let's get rid of these containers real quick. Do a little bit of housekeeping. And same thing with Playwright MCP. We're not using that one. Point stands, fun times. This is fun times. Fun time for me. I really want to get this browser running. Let's see. Yeah, for some reason we don't have the browser use Docker in here. Huh. Oh, that's right. We had a build issue with it. What's the build issue? Failed to resolve process. Let's see. Let's see. We had modified a file in here. Let's see. Let me tail the Docker file real quick. Yeah, so we changed that back to browser use. Everything should be good in here. Let me check something in here. I think we may have used a bunch of cache layers, and that was what was breaking it. I think it was Docker build. That's not it. Oh no, it's Docker builder. Get rid of all the cache layers. There we go. Now let me try the build process again. Let's see if we hit the same error with this one. Because dude, if this example works, then we'll be able to build a custom this will be the first specialty agent where we actually go through and we have a browser that it can go through and interact with the CTF sites, which is really important because most CTFs, the initial access exploit happens because of a web browser, or not a web browser, but some kind of web app vulnerability. We had an exit code 1 in here. So for some reason, the Playwright install did not function correctly. So let's go look at something real quick. Because we're using a custom fork of browser use. Let's actually, yeah, we'll vim it. Vim the Docker file. We'll look at this. Here we go. This is the section right here that's throwing the error. Let me try something real quick. Let's copy the Docker file and we'll call it .test. I'm going to vim that Docker file. And what we're going to do is find Playwright. So this is this part here where it is crapping out on us. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of run through this manually. Check something real quick. I gotta remember what that command actually does for the Docker file here. Let's see. Let's see. Find from name instructions to refer to the image built in the stage. But what is this stage actually doing? Let's see. The type is going to be Ccache target var apt cache. Sharing is locked. This allows you to create a file system mount that the build process can access. This will create a bind mount on the host system and other build stages, access build secrets or SSH sockets, use persistent package management cache to speed up the process. So I think probably what's happening here is... Here. Bust out of this. Let's search for that. So here's the actual area, the spot where we're getting this error. So this mount here is probably what's jacking it up. So we need to know what this ID command is doing. So it's coming from the cache and it's trying to target a particular architecture variant, which I believe those. I gotta remember how to do this. I haven't had to build a Docker file in so long. Yeah, this defines variables of the target, pass it build time to the builder. Let's see. Use build arguments to pass secrets or credentials. Arg instructions can optionally include default values. So if an Arg instruction has a default value, there's no value assigned to build time. Builder uses the default. But we're not assigning a default, so what's going to be our target architecture here? Let me see, are those built-in variables? Target. I don't think so. But we did have a problem building it before. That's the weird part. But you know what? There is actually a Docker file in here. If we grep for this, target flat from the build base images. Now we don't have that in there either. Weird. So where's that target platform actually coming from? I guess that's just if we wanted to change it. But that still gets kind of weird with... Let me look at something here. It's hard to, really hard to read because it's blue on black. User ID 911, that's funny. Yeah, so it actually is filling this in, because see right here, it's apt AMD 64. So it is filling in the target arg, so those arguments aren't causing the issue. Only problem is... they've got so much happening in here, it's hard to know which part is actually causing it to get jacked up. You think, what would be a good way to troubleshoot this? Here, we can see it a little bit easier over here. There's our version.txt with our debugging info. Here's the actual area where things are getting a little nuts right here. So target arch target variant, we're fine there. Installing AMD 64. So one thing we can do here is, that's where it is. Look at that. That's what's causing it. Because it's looking for playwright greater than or equal to, and then it's looking for patch write greater than or equal to. When we modified the Pi project, we hard-coded playwright to equal. So that's where it's messing up. It can't grep it. It can't find it. That's what's causing all the issues right there. So it is in the Docker file. It's that one tiny line right there. Yep. That's it. Because they're not expecting to have locked the copy of Playwright. We ended up having to do that to get this working. So let's bin the Docker file. Wait, I already have it open? I do already have it open. Here we go. Right here. That's it. So we just delete that, throw that in there. Let's see if it builds now. That was the problem. It was trying to get the version to get from the Pi project, but it required that greater than instead of the equal sign. Oh, please build. Yeah, it's funny because I was actually talking, speaking of fun times hats, I was talking with my boss about that, and she was reminding me to actually make sure I take PTO. They expect me to take 1 week of PTO a quarter, and I guess I hadn't been doing that. It's because I was trying to get accustomed to everything. I felt like I'd already had time off because of various family issues, and which they let me take off from work. It's been a fantastic environment. Well, I told her, it's like, yeah, she was worried about me getting burned out. I was like, well, the good thing is the stuff I work on outside of work is somewhat adjacent to what I'm doing, but it's not like work related. I'm not doing like, I'm trying to think of an example. The stuff I do is technical, but it's not necessarily work related. It lets me go flex a lot of creativity. Hey, Bottleneck, what's up, man? Oh, please tell me this is gonna work now. Kind of wish for a will it build betting. There's a way to actually do that on Twitch. I just don't know what it is. I think you can do... Let me see something here. Question. I'll let y'all bet on it. Will the browser agent MCP run? Yes. What? There we go. All right. We'll let the voting start now. Is it gonna run? I can put the points down really low so people can vote again. Because if it runs, this is gonna be awesome. If it runs, what it should do is it should connect to the browser and say go to weather.com and check the weather in Boston. And it should give us a response back. So, if this works. Actually, hold on. While you're doing that, let me look at something real quick. Because I had to update the Anthropic key, it might not be updated in here. While y'all are doing that, let me double check this is correct. Yep, sure enough, I hadn't updated it, so good thing I just checked that. Let's see. We have 1 minute left. We'll bet on this. I think it will work. Everything we've got going on here, all it has to do is just be able to use the browser, go to weather.com. Once that's done, then we can start sending it additional instructions, like the stuff we were getting from the exploitation agent, where it's browse to the site, browse to the admin panel, upload a PHP file. Okay, cool, we got an error. It should then feed back into the exploit steps and let it do its thing. I hope this works. Alright, the poll's about to close, and we'll see what everybody says on it. So far, it's all yeses. Poll completed. We have 4 yeses. Let's do it. I want to see if it works. Run. Congratulations, no one else got it. We were all wrong. No, what happened? Oh, hold on. It's saying invalid X API key. So I think it did try to run, but I think the API key is messed up. Hang on. That doesn't count. Dang it. Stand by. Let me go make sure I got the correct API key. Optimistic consensus cost us nothing. Let's see. Where is this thing? Make sure this is the right key. Hang on. Stand by, y'all. This is definitely not the correct API. What happened there? All right, easy fix. Don't know what happened to it when it got copied over, but that's fine. There's that. Stand by. Fixing this up. Good. Okay. Close that out. All right. Now we're going to try this. Should hopefully have a valid API key now. Come on, big money. This is how they felt in Minority Report. What? No way. Hold on. So now it's saying browser use can't be found here. That is bunk. Hang on. Let me look at some of our. Let's do Docker. Let's see. So we do have browser use latest. Okay. Let me run this real quick. Where was that darn passive? But it's saying that browser use, it didn't have it in here. Copy this. The whole reason why we fixed that really. So it's still showing up in root, but it's not showing up in browser use, and it is the correct Chromium 1169. So I guess we are going to have to run this as root, which is terrible, but we can do that. It's weird that it didn't install for the browser use user, but let's try running it now because root does definitely have that browser in there. On big money. So what this is doing is it's launching. It's doing something though now. It's actually trying to load up our Chrome process. See that Chrome process no longer exists. So something is busted in Chrome, but it actually is trying to run. Sudo su for the win. Exactly. But it is running though. It's doing something. I wonder. We shall sell Che Guevara merch? No. Just no, but no. What is going on inside this container? Let me look some real quick. Out of this. Docker PS. Come on. Perfect. PS. Killing me, Smalls. We have so many Chrome crash pads running. Look at that. They just fill up. Oh, that's horrible. What is happening? All right, so it's trying to run. I'm going to call that a success. One thing we'll have to do, though, is let's go and kill this. So what's happening is, I think it's because of the way it's actually installing Chrome in here. We've been the Docker file. There was something about Playwright in here. Actually, let me do something. Let me bust out of this. So we have a playwright command, but we also have, I think, a patchwrite command. So let me vim this down here. Vim the Docker file. So in here we use playwright to install it. Not here though. Where is it? It's next. Yeah, so here we do playwright install. We also do the tac no shell. And if I remember correctly, let's see, playwright install no shell. I'm trying to remember what this does. In fact, you know what? Never mind. But you know what we can do is actually just run it up here. So we'll start with playwright before we do patchwright. Let's see. So no shell is do not install Chromium headless shell. So if we can't run Chromium headless in here, do we have anything where it can actually do the display? I think they threw the Docker file in here as a nice to have, but I don't think they actually expected anybody to use it because I just noticed your username is Dora with a gun. That is awesome. I love it. I love reading the usernames of the folks in chat. They crack me up. Let's see. I don't know why I did that. Yes. I don't think I saw anything about installing a desktop environment or any kind of anything. Install no shell, Docker with no desktop environment. Let's see. Running Chrome. Edit in Docker. See what this guy's doing. He's using Selenium, but we have a similar situation. I got headful Chrome as opposed to headless Chrome and Selenium working in Docker using XB. What's XBB? Virtual frame buffer. Nice. Door with the gun. Thank you for coming online. Hope you're having a fantastic Taco Tuesday. Cool. Let me see how this guy's doing it, because we might just hopefully need to make a tiny change to the Docker file. Because what's happening here is there's no desktop environment. There's no X system, it looks like, running on the system to allow Chrome to generate the interface, right? So when that happens, it's trying to basically load up a user interface into an environment where there's no user interface. Just curiosity, for Windows users, what's the number after new in your latest Notepad++ tab? I don't know. I haven't used Notepad++ in a while. I used to use it all the time, but obviously I've just used VS Code for most things now. It's going to suck up on my RAM anyway. I might as well just go ahead and use it. Oh, like it's a new tab? Yeah. Dude, I'm a tab hoarder. See what he's doing here. So he's straight up using XVFB to get this running. Let me check something real quick. Just install packages. I don't remember what the command is. I believe it's just apt install. Yeah, apt list install. Let's see what's actually installed in this Docker container. So we actually do. We have X11 common and XKB utils running in here. So in here we have a Chromium. Where is it? Chromium browser right here. Oh, here's the issue. Running as root without tac no sandbox is not supported. So the issue here is it's installing Chrome in a place where the user that it creates for the dang Docker file can't reach it. And then, all right, I think a simple solution is what we'll do is we're going to copy this Ccache file, or this .cache file here. We're going to copy that over to the browser use home directory. We're going to chown it all, and then I think it will work for it. So let's go over to this room. So that was the issue. Is it actually does have everything set up to run it. The problem is we had to supply the no sandbox option. Yeah, adventures in Docker. How do actually? What's funny is I like Docker. It's I used to actually hate it, and I've come to actually really enjoy using it. All right. So let's do this. Normally, we don't go this far into Docker, Dora. However, we need it to run this stuff. All the tools for Hackbot run inside Docker, and that's for a couple reasons. One is simplicity. The other is for isolation. So we don't have to deal with Dante Alighieri's undocumented eighth layer of hell, which is Python dependencies. Let me see. Let me come down here. Okay, so here's where we do the ln, right? I think what I want to do here is we're going to add in something special right here. What we're going to do is we're going to copy root / dot Ccache. Let me actually, I exited out of the container too soon. Let me double check this command here. So what we're going to do is we want to copy from root .cache, and what we would do is we want to copy that to home browser use. Okay, so that's what I wanted to double check. We do need the tac bar. So we copy all of that over there. That's what we put it. So when we copy this stuff, copy that to home browser use. Now, what's funny is, here's the issue, right? This export here, when they're exporting it, this is running as root when this happens. So when you run this Python here, let me do something. I never had to do this. Disable mouse. Yeah, it's just set mouse equals. That's what I thought. Set mouse equal. There we go. Now I can copy this. Because watch what happens here. So if I copy this. No, undo that. We come up here, we run this. See, this comes back as root right here. So now if we su to browser use, do git bash. And so if we run the same command here, see how it should be using browser use Ccache? So that's the problem. Whenever this executes right here, this Chrome binary, when it does this, it's doing it that way. So actually what we might want to do here is, we do want to copy this. And then what we'll do is once we copy this, we'll actually I take this back. What we're gonna do is undo. So after we do the playwright install, what we'll do is we will run this here, and then what we'll do is we will su browser use. I wonder if this will work. We'll find out. And then after these are made, what I want to do here, I think what I want to do is we will actually, let me see here. I think there's a better way to do this. Linux run command as a user. Don't want to use sudo. I think I even have sudo on this box. That's it. Yeah, you could just use su tech username. There we go. What we'll do is we'll modify this. So rather than suing to browser use, let's take that command out. Back out some of this stuff. Let's see, because we already have a chown for the browser use user /config. Oh, that only changes the /config there. Dude, I've had my fill of Node.js. I've worked so much in Node.js when I was doing the front end for Deimos. I had my fill of it. And that even wasn't even like really dedicated Node.js because that was all Vue.js. But I've had my fill of JavaScript from that one project. There we go. So we'll delete this. What we'll do is we will copy this over to here. Chrome binary, here's what we'll do. So in here, we're going to su tech browser use tag C. I think that would actually work. Try this real quick. Here to here. Oh, actually need to run this root. You're expecting something simple. it's crap with, especially with Electron. Game Engine makes things more easy, more flexible, much faster, and take up less space in RAM, and it's harder to make memory leaks in a game engine. Actually, what's funny is I thought if I ever was going to make a front end for this, which I'm going to eventually, I've thought about making it a browser, but actually I was considering different ways on how I'm going to do the front end construction of this. And it probably will be an Electron app, unfortunately, or just a straight up web browser. There's just lots of things that make the web browser idea a little bit more appealing. But the good news is I actually have a lot of people that I could call on for that to help with it. Interesting. Which Python? Okay, so we might just need to update which version of Python. There we go. So I think this is the command we'll actually need to end up using. However, I think we can hopefully get away with making this work. So now what I need is I need to actually test exporting this as a command. So let's do export. We'll just make it the test variable. It's going to equal this. We'll run this in a subshell. Data back. Echo test. Perfect. Excellent. So they have this wrapped in double quotes, which we should not need. We're going to take this out. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop in this line right here. We'll do the dollar. Let me just copy the whole thing here. There we go. So this should work. So what this will do is it'll switch user to browser use. It will run the virtual environment Python, get the correct path. These should link over to the correct one. I think there's one thing we're missing here, and that is when we copy this over to browser use, we're going to have to own it. But actually, I think I'm just going to modify this one right here. And we're going to make everything in the browser use folder, we're going to shown it. Shimona. Let's get rid of that, and then let's do another. We're already over stream time. Damn it. It should be vice versa, but it was written by monkeys. In theory, Dino, I think, should be addressing some of those issues. I haven't looked at the development process of Dino yet. Which, if you're not familiar, Dino is an anagram of Node, and it was meant to be Node done right. It was by the same guy who wrote Node.js, went over and started creating Dino. If I have a GPU, might as well put it to use. That's my thought, man. In fact, when I was talking to one of my coworkers, he was like, "Hey, by the way, if you're going to use the thinking system or like some of the language models that we have access to," he's like, "make sure you use your individual keys so you're not just inflating the overall user budget." I was like, "Okay." Because I have an individual budget that I can use. He's like, if you start using thinking mode, you're gonna blow out the budget for everybody. I was like, fine. Fine. Okay, let's see if this works. Wait, hold on, stop. I forgot I had to take this part out. This needs to get commented out. There you go, now run. All right, it's doing stuff. No, we're running into the same issue. Yes. Oh, because I'm running his browser use. Dang it. Come on. Dang it, we're still getting all the crash pads. What's going on here? So Chromium browser is now linking over to the, look at that. It's linking over here. We do a ls in home browser use cache. We do see that. Let's do LA. It's owned by browser use, so we're good there. All those are owned by browser use, so that is good. So now if we run Chromium browser, oh, dang it, because we're running that as root. No, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to not do that. Hang on. We take this out, so we run as browser use. And now if we try to run the Chromium browser, no usable sandbox. If you're running Ubuntu or Linux distro, okay, so we're still gonna have to go troubleshoot the sandbox. Urgh, so close. I have close to zero trust in anything node related. Yeah. Understand, man. Alright. Unfortunately, folks, that's where we've got to end it. Dang it, we're still troubleshooting this. I don't know why it is. Try running this with no sandbox, which would mean... Let me figure out where to do that real quick. Close a bunch of these. Close a bunch of these browsers here. Let me see here. Playwright, run, no sandbox. Okay. We'll have to take a look at this for next time, unfortunately. Just use those. Because once we can, we may have to go make a minor modification over to browser use and make it to where it runs with no sandbox, because for some reason it is throwing an absolute fit about not having a sandbox, or there's something wrong with the sandbox. Dang it, so freaking close to getting this going. Okay. Let's go find someone to head off to. You know what, Rob is on. What's he working? A little bit of fun. Let's see. Ooh, Arduino's on. I love him. Yeah, we'll go right over to Arduino. He's doing fun space stuff. Lots of good sciencey things. All right, y'all. Unfortunately, that is where I've got to wrap it up for tonight because it is past my bedtime. I'm trying to get my sleep schedule fixed. I've been very lucid lately when I actually get enough sleep. It's been crazy. But I will catch you all on Saturday. We'll hopefully figure out this darn sandbox issue and have a great time with it. And then we'll be able to finally continue development on the exploitation agent. Oh, I'm so hopeful for it. Can't wait. Yep. Good night, everyone. You guys keep crushing it. The week is not over yet. Tomorrow is hump day. And I want y'all to use those humps to crush your challenges. Get after it. You know, I'm always encouraging y'all. And let me think about anything else. I think that's it. Oh, no, wait. I forgot one of the most important things, which is I love you. Peace.